Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to talk because they're back, ladies and gentlemen. They are back. The Swords of Justice. Sorry, those four. Yeah, they're all back, ladies and gentlemen. They're all back. We got all four of them. Are they any good? I don't know, let's take a gander. Translations from the lovely Antoine Boulet, of whom we are a very large fan, and of course me, because I do some of these nowadays, because I can kind of translate most of them, and that makes me very happy. So, starting off with Keldeo, seems like a sensible place to start, because Keldeo is the leader and all of that. What we've got is 120 HP, which is fine, I suppose. We got single energy, 20 damage, nobody cares. But we've got 1 water energy, 2 double colorless energy, 50 damage. But if you have Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion on your bench, this attack does 170 more damage. Or to put it another way, it does 220. Or to put it another way, it does the perfect amount of damage to get a one-hit KO on pretty much any Pokemon V. Now, one thing that must be borne in mind is that even with a choice bout, you're only up to 250. 280 is the number for Pokemon V Star, so generally speaking, that's not amazing. You're getting Pokemon V, yay. You're not getting V Star. That is, I think it's fair to say, far from ideal. And honestly, weakness-wise, this isn't looking great. Sure, you're hitting weakness on Radiant Charizard, but honestly, either you've got the other Pokemon out, and you don't need to hit weakness to get a KO, or you don't have the other Pokemon out, and you're not even getting a KO with weakness. So, yeah, sorry about that. And this is fine as kind of a starter for 10. This is fine as a general KOing Pokemon V, but I worry about the energy cost. I don't like water double colorless. And sure, it's a single prize Pokemon, so you can totally use twin energy. Do bear in mind, although double turbo is an option, the problem with double turbo energy is it'll reduce your damage done by 20, so it'll then bring you down to 200, so then you will need a choice bout to KO Pokemon V, which is really not what you're looking for. So maybe turn 1 you get a water energy on, then turn 2 you get twin energy, and that's giving you a couple of turns to get the others out, and then you're getting a one-hit KO on Pokemon V, but then recovering that energy is going to be a pain. It's not easy. And there's ways to get it, don't get me wrong, Frostmoth will absolutely do the job here. That'll work. It'll get your energy out. I mean, to be fair, you could actually, if you want to go a little bit fancy here, you could even go Kyurem V Max. That would work. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a water, or discard the top card of your deck, I should say. If it's a water energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon. So maybe Kyurem V Max is the best option here. There are ways to accelerate the energy is my point, and I'm not sure any of them are amazing. So it's a decent start, but needing to have 3 specific bench Pokemon and then needing another energy. And don't get me wrong, I know we see this with stuff like the Reggie deck, but the difference is the Reggie deck has Regigigas, which can accelerate all the energy you could ever want super easily, and that's the difference. That's why the Reggie deck works. The Reggie deck's got a bunch of different basic Pokemon with expensive attacks, blah, blah, blah. But the difference with the Reggie deck is the Ancient Wisdom ability that if you've got a bench full of different Reggies, lets you attach free energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. That's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have anything like Reggie here. And that makes a big difference. I'm sorry. We got ways to get the energy, but it's not as easy as it should be. Sorry. But we do have all the other members coming in here as well, so we can have a look at, let's look at Terrakion, because Terrakion is blatantly the best of them. 130 HP is quite nice, wonderful artwork here, although Terrakion's always been a favourite of mine, so it's not necessarily fair for me to judge. 130 damage for 2 fighting and 1 colourless energy. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn, but you can only use this attack once in a row. You can't use this attack if any of your Pokemon used Cavern Tackle during your last turn. And once again, my feelings on this are very, very, very similar to my feelings on Keldeo. How you getting the energy? It's a really nice attack. 120 is enough to KO an Arceus V, with a choice bout is enough to KO an Arceus V Star. That's lovely. And then you've got other stuff you're hitting for weakness at the moment, stuff like Hisui and Zoroark. As an example, you will get a lovely KO on that. And that does seem to be a legitimate deck at the moment. But the problem we've got is the energy cost. Again, what we're basically talking about here is a very similar thing to what we see with a Reggie deck. Bunch of different basic Pokemon all using different energy types with really useful attacks. But the Reggie deck has Regigigas. This has Keldeo that's not accelerating any energy. And again, there's ways to do it. A Gritty Pickaxe can accelerate the energy. That'll work. But my point is that we're not actually... Or Gutsy Pickaxe, it was translated, wasn't it? But my point is, this is different energy to Keldeo now. So now you're looking at a different way to accelerate the energy. And even if you can find a way to accelerate the energy... It's still two-coloured, one-colourless energy. So now Keldeo wants water and twin energy, but this basically just wants fighting. That's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. That's a gigantic problem. Then we go and have a look at Virizion. Here we've got 110 HP, which is quite low, but it is Virizion. Wonderful Saito artwork here. And we've got single energy, 20 damage, if you have Cobalion, Terrakion, and Keldeo on your bench, i.e. if you got the whole troop, this does 70 more damage. So now we've got a single energy attack, yay, but you're only doing 90 damage. And 90 is not really enough. And 90 really isn't enough. Basically, 90 is, if you're hitting for weakness, then you're getting a one-hit KO on a Pokemon V with a choice belt. But you're not getting a Pokemon V-Star, even with weakness. And to be fair, grass weakness is not terribly relevant at the moment. I mean, the most relevant grass weak thing in the format right now is probably Galarian Moltres V. And that's a huge problem, ladies and gentlemen. That is a huge problem. And you'll see where we're going with all of this. What we basically have is a whole bunch of potential, but everything's a little bit awkward. Until we get to Virizion, which is in no way, shape, or form awkward. You got to have 3 specific bench Pokemon. In the format at the moment with everyone playing a billion VIP pass, that is really not a big deal. I don't mind that at all. The problem I've got is that I'm only doing 90 damage. So we finally got an easy attack to use, but it's only doing 90. And sure, you'll be knocking out stuff like Comfey and Sableye for days, which, to be fair, in the format we're moving into with Lost Origin is huge, because they're everywhere. The fact of the matter is, you get KO'd by a Cramorant, which again is a big deal, because Cramorant is everywhere, and you're not getting a KO on Cramorant back. You see where we're going with this, ladies and gentlemen? It's just not really good enough. And that makes me genuinely a little bit sad. So yeah, on the upside, there are 4 of these. We've only actually talked about 3 of them. So, you know, let's go and put all of our hope, all of our dreams into Cobalion and hope it can work. Well, it kind of can. The abilities, Code of Justice, attacks from your basic Pokemon deal 30 more to your opponent's active Darkness Pokemon. 2 very important things to note here. First of all, there's nothing that says you can only apply 1 of these abilities per turn. And I have checked the wording on this. It definitely does not say it doesn't stack, so it does stack. So in theory, with 4 Cobalion out, your basic Pokemon are doing 120 damage more to your opponent's active Darkness Pokemon, which would be really good if Darkness was a really relevant typing at the moment. But it's just not. Like, we play some Darkness to counter Mew decks, but in terms of Darkness being a good typing at the moment that everybody's playing, it's just not. Like, I'm not saying there's none around there. There's a few decks on the periphery, but I absolutely am saying that it's not a big typing at the moment and seeing a huge amount of play. I don't think that's an unfair statement to make. So, yeah. Keep it in mind for the future, I suppose, is what I'm saying. In the future, this ability could be amazing. As it is, it's not going to work often enough. But we do have an attack for 2 colourless energy that does 30 damage, and you choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon, and for each of them, you search your deck for a basic energy and attach it to that Pokemon. So now you're using Twin Energy in the same way that you really want to be using Twin Energy on Keldeo, which is lovely. And you're accelerating energy, and you're searching your deck for the energy. And the good news is, even between all four of them, Virizion's basically colourless energy, Cobalion's basically colourless energy, so you do need Fighting for Terrakion and Water for Keldeo, but they're probably the only two types of basic energy you're going to need. Virizion, I should say, the second attack is Grass, colourless, 50 damage, heal 20. There's a reason we didn't really talk about it, because it's just not good. You're not going to want to use it. So, the deal here essentially is that you need to be using Cobalion in the early game to get the energy on the field, hope you draw a Twin Energy turn 1, and then get rolling from there. But the problem is, if Cobalion gets KO'd quickly, then you attach a Twin Energy, accelerate 2 basic energy, get KO'd, then you're kind of back where you started with your single energy attachments. And that's my big problem with this deck. On the one hand, Keldeo can one-hit KO Pokemon V, and that's brilliant. Virizion's got a decent low-energy attack for finishing off or poking little Pokemon. And Terrakion's got a really nice attack that can get immunity for return, hoping your opponent doesn't have something like an escape rope, because it prevents damage done to this Pokemon. So if your opponent's got like an escape rope or a boss's orders, they can move you out the active, and then they can just hit whatever was on the bench. There's a lot of potential with this deck. And let's be clear, like, the reason we're talking about all these four together, this is very much meant to be a deck in and of itself. The problem we've got here is that it's all a bit expensive, and you're not one-hit KOing Pokemon V-Star, and you're kind of relying on having Cobalion attacking a couple of times in the early game, and if you can get Cobalion attacking, 3 or 4 times before it gets KO'd, you're probably going to win a lot of games. But how often are you going to get Cobalion attacking 2 or 3 times in the early game? Honestly, probably not that many. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving this whole thing 3 wassies. I like a lot of this, but I think there are too many issues with it, and it reminds me very much of the Reggie deck. The problem is, it doesn't have the one thing that makes a Reggie deck work, and no, that attack from Cobalion is not on the same level as Regigigas' ability, obviously. But hey, maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me. Either way, I would love to hear from you lovely ladies and gentlemen in the comment section, so go nuts! That'd be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can join a Discord to chat Pokemon with us, where you can get weekly bonus pods or answer all of your questions. And, of course, you can get shout-outs, like the lovely Joseph Forget, who is one of our Patreons, has been for a couple of months. Thank you, Joseph, for being a lovely person and for all the support. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.